class, write this down. Middle class is your income equals your expenses, but you get two things. You own a house and you own a car. But really, who owns the house and the car? Is it you or is it the bank? The bank. The only difference between poor and middle class is you own a house and a car. I went out with this girl last week and I said, I had to drive my dad. Now, my dad's going bankrupt right now. He told me not to go to the real estate seminar and he's going bankrupt now. Not because he did a business and it failed. He went and spent $100,000 on pilot lessons and now he found out being a pilot makes you like $30,000 a year. So now he has $100,000 of credit card debt at 20% interest, which is $20,000 a year, and he makes $30,000 a year, so he's going negative, and he mucked it up. That plan doesn't work. Go to school, get a job doesn't work for my dad. So my dad's bankrupt, has no credit. I'm driving my dad. He calls me, he says, Steph, can you pick me up and take me to get a rental car? And I said, who is whose dad right now? Am I your dad or are you my dad? So I drove all the way to St. Norbert, which is out of town, to pick up my dad at his girlfriend's basement where he lives. And I drive my dad to Enterprise Rent-A-Car to get him a car, and he doesn't have a credit card. I said, why don't you just go to 7-Eleven, get a preloaded card, put $100 on it, and do this? Oh, I didn't think of that. Okay. So now I'm spending 2.5 hours driving my dad, and I drive my dad to get the Enterprise Rent-A-Car. And he has this poor man mentality that just keeps bringing him down and down and down and down. So he's somebody that has got into the poor mentality. He doesn't own a house. He doesn't own a car. And the creditors are calling him and saying, hey, they're calling his girlfriend and saying, we're going to take your house away. Well, she owns the house. He doesn't own anything. So I went out with this girl and she said, I told her about I had to pick up my dad at Enterprise Rent-A-Car at his girlfriend's house, and she goes, how does he have a girlfriend if he doesn't have any money or a car? And I thought, oh, that's an interesting thing to say. Prerequisites for girlfriend, house and car, or car and money. You must have car and money. And she said, yeah, well, if I'm going to go out with a guy, you have to pick me up, and then we probably have to go out and get something to eat, so that takes some money, and you have to have a car. Next. That's, well, yeah. Thank you, Mark, yeah. Yeah, well, some people are motivated by those things. So middle class, income equals expenses, but now you own a house and a car, and there's probably a big loan in here. In the economy, who pays all the taxes? The poor, middle class, or the rich? The middle class pays all the taxes. So you got taxes and you got debt. So if you're going to pick one of these, poor or middle class, I'd rather be poor, thank you. Because you know what? When you're poor, the government gives you money. When you're middle class, you're giving all your money to the government. Here's a perfect example. When I was a guitar teacher making $10,000 a year, I kept all the money. It was my money. When I got a job at Frito-Lay putting chips on shelves, I made $40,000 a year, but I still only kept 10 because now I had to own a car and I had to own some clothes. I had to drive around and there's taxes. 40 equals 10. Write that down. 40 grand equals 10 grand. So if you're a guy who is a middle class guy making money, probably has only 10 grand a year. You might as well be an entrepreneur and make 10. You guys see how that's the same? Because the taxes and the debt got in the way.